we have completed almost all the topic, but still there are two topics remaining. So the first topic is, we can say, architecture of mobile computing, and the second one is design consideration of mobile computing. So before starting this topic, let me rewind the first unit, and then I'll start the remaining two topics. Okay. So in first lecture, I have told you the history of mobile computing, how mobile computing or wireless communication came into the market. I don't know how many of you were present at that time. That's why I'm rewinding the whole thing, and then I'm going to explain you the remaining two topics. So initially, when people wants to communicate with each other, they can shout and talk with each other. Then they have started showing fire to each other. So whenever there were any problem occurs, they show the fire, and then they call each other for the help, because human voice was having some limitation. So they have started showing fire signals. After this, China has find out some signal language. So they have started such kind of signal language, and from the signal language they found a signal for all the letters. I can say for A, B, C, D. You can see here in this image, for A there is some signal, for B there is some signal, for C there is some signal. So they have started showing such kind of signal. Whenever they need any kind of help, they have started certain signal language. So average distance up to 10 kilometer was there a fire can reach, but here it is going to reach up to the 30 kilometers across even water they can show. So on the basis of this signal language, in we can say in 1835, first commercial telegraph came into the market. So using this telegraph machine, they can send the long and short signals using characters and alphabets. And this is the modern telegraph or fax machine that we are using nowadays. So this guy, he has made in 1901 more good messages that can be sent over a Atlantic. You can see here. So this kind of signals they have used during the World War. And then in 1902, this Lee T. Forrest invented the triode. It was the first radio tube that could be used as an amplifier. It was the first step at modern electronics. So you can see here the triode. Using this triode, they have invented the radio. So at the time of disaster of Titanic, what they have done, they have used three short, three long, and followed by three short. It means SOS, save our soul. This message they have sent through such kind of signal language, and using this SOS signal, even so many boats came around to save the lives of people. So at the time of disaster of Titanic, they have saved many lives using this signal language. And after World War One, we can say there were a first radio station was invented. Families seated together to enjoy the news and entertainment through the radio. At that time, radio was even installed in the car, but it was having big antenna. During the World War II, there were we can say strong need of wireless communication was required. So radio was the main we can say intention to search the phone. So they have searched the mobile phone that was known as a walkie talkie. It was the half duplex communication. Only we can say one way communication was there. They can talk with each other at a time, one at a time. So they have used this during the World War One. So radio was showing the serious vision of a mobile phone. So after the World War IV, they have started first series of mobile telephony. Initially, mobile was we can say phone was very bulky in size. It was difficult to carry here and there. And then they have started using GSM. They have found the GSM after 10 years of this bulky mobile. They have in between we show the codeless phone was there. Then GSM introduced into the market. It was small in size. First phone was looking like this. We can say black and white Nokia phone were there, and they have introduced talking. And after some years, they have started in 90s, early 90s. They have started some SMS. We can say text messages was there, and after introduction of text message, people have started talking with messaging each other. Then they have started video calling. So in 1991, Ericsson introduced the mobile video call through the computer. And you know where we are actually today. Through the mobile, we can even talk with each other, we can text each other, we can send the multimedia messages, images, videos, we can see the movies, we can see the serials. So we can say there were next 20 years we found many generations of mobile. There is year wise given how they have found everything year wise. At that time, initially, we can say codeless phone were there, then the remote controller was coming to the market, walkie talkies, pagers, cellular phone. Then they have used wireless LAN mobile. So these are the various generations of mobile came into the market. And you can see here, after a decade, every decade there is a evaluation in mobile, we can say, family. In 1980s, the phone was looking like this, a bulky phone. Then 1990s, 1G, only you can talk with each other. There were no, we can say, internet was there. Then we can say 2000, there was a 2G internet. They are having GSM, GPRS, age, and then SMS. Internet got introduced, and in 3G there were a very good speed of internet. Using very good speed, you can use internet. And in 2020, we are having 4G LTE long term evaluation, where you can see the videos, movies with very high speed internet. So after every decade, even we can say in up to 2030, we will going to get the 5G introduced, which is maybe better than 4G. So more features are included in that. So these are just, we can say, evaluation of different generations of mobile that we have already gone through in our first lecture. How 1G will work, what are the features of 1G phone, what are the disadvantages of 1G phone, what are the advantages and disadvantages of 2G phone, 3G phone, right? 2.5G age connection they have used initially for internet. So it started, it slowly, gradually started. When I was doing my B at that time, we were having only 3G internet with very low speed. I was not even able to see proper video. So later on, 3G got introduced, and 4G got introduced. So now you can use it with very high speed. So this already we have gone through, we have already completed. That's why I'm not going into the depth of all these things. Then I have explained you what are the advantages of wireless communication. When there is a wireless, you don't need a physical infrastructure everywhere. So it is a cost effective. It is a flexible. You can keep it anywhere. You can use internet with anywhere. Convenience provided by the user. So no need to connect physically through the mobile phone, Wi-Fi, internet. You can use it anywhere. Speed it provides faster than the wired one. You can access it anywhere. You can see here lots of webinars are going on. Even during my latest, we can say, online course, I have invited the speaker from USA, from Australia. So from remote places, from anywhere, it is going to accessible, and constant connectivity is also going to provide. So these are the advantages of the wireless communication. Then disadvantages, there are some problems related to security, and initially there is a higher cost of infrastructure is there. In physical, it is not going to influence by the obstacles, but here climate condition and interference from the other wireless devices become obstacles. When you are talking or when you are using internet, if there is a rain, you will not going to get the signal properly. Then we have gone through types of wireless, we can say, communication spread spectrum. So there are so many types of waves. We have gone through radio wave, microwave, infrared, visible light, ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays. I told you that our spread spectrum. Spectrum is having various colors. That all the colors are we cannot see, but sometimes there is a rain and some kind of cloudy weather. In that case, we can see a color of rainbow. So that is nothing but a spread spectrum. Even we can say flyers can see it. Butterfly can see all the colors. Only butterfly can't see red color. Remaining all bands, all color, a butterfly can see. That human eyes cannot see. But actually our spectrum is having lots of kind of rays, and rays human has utilized in various applications like in oven, in infrared, in visible light, in ultraviolet. We are using our specs to save our eyes from that particular ultraviolet rays. We are using this rays into the x-ray, gamma rays to kill the cancer cells. So these rays people have used in various applications. And this electromagnetic spectrum is, we can say, controlled by the government. You can see here there is a traffic, and if I cannot control this traffic by the traffic signal, then there is a chances of accident. So this we can say this electromagnetic spectrum is controlled by the government. And the government has divided our country into 22 clusters or 22 circles, and as per the need they are providing us the authority of spread spectrum and the rays. And I told you that up to this tower it is totally wired, and from this tower to our mobile phone or our laptop it is wireless. Okay, then we have gone through what is infrared, what is Wi-Fi, right? And this all we have gone through, so I'm not going into the depth. SOC and AOC client, sometimes on and always on. Suppose our university registrar sir has to access the data of employee. So sometime he is access that data every day. He is not accessing, but I want to access the attendance. I have to put it into ERP. Then I am accessing every day. Or somebody who is managing the website of Indus University, then that particular person is continuously updating that website, continuously putting all the events. So that is called always on connected client. Now we will see the architecture. I told you the difference between 2-tier and 3-tier architecture. When I'm having 2-tier, so what is the problem with this 2-tier architecture? I have given you the example of that lari of some food or some pani puri somebody is selling. He is the responsible person of doing that particular, means preparing that particular pani puri or the food. He is working as a cook or chef. He is working as a manager who is counting the money or taking money from the customer. He is working as, we can say, a waiter to serve the food. All the roles can be done by that particular one single-handed person. And when there are one or two person will come and they want to eat the pani puri, that person is easily serve them, make them, and collect the money. But when more than 100% came together and they are asking for the pani puri or the food, that particular single person is not able to handle, because he is not able to respond so many person at a time. Same way, then when there are very we can say requests coming from single client or the two client, the server is able to handle. But then where there are so many client machines are requesting for a query, at that time server has to need something which is at middle. So here you can see that particular person is now opening his cafe, and he is having some particular staff who are responsible for taking orders. Somebody is there who are responsible for preparing the food for that particular customer. You can see here somebody is preparing food, somebody is taking the order and serving the food. So now he is able to handle more than one request at a time. Same way, we are applying the middle layer that is going to handle the request from the client, coming client, right? So 3-tier architectures are there: physical tier, logical tier, and data tier. So you can see here the first one is presentation tier, second one is application tier, and the third one is data tier. So what is the meaning of this presentation tier? Presentation tier means the where users can actually interact. Like suppose I'm typing something on my browser, that comes under the presentation tier. I'm typing www dot we can say gmail.com. So what I'm doing, I'm interacting with that particular Gmail with that using that browser. So that is my presentation tier. Application tier means process, whatever process in between or logic in between is there for making this Gmail accessible to me. That is called application tier. And the data tier. Data tier means whatever, suppose I am giving username and password that is going to save somewhere. That comes under the database category, and that is data tier, where database is going to store. If I am giving correct password, then I can go to next level, my inbox, because my password is going to compare with the database. And if I am giving wrong password, then I have to again give the password. So this is just an example of three-tier architecture. You can see here user interface is the tier 1 presentation tier. It is going to access, we can say, network. Second one is application tier, where the business logic is there, process management middleware is there. Third tier is database middleware, or we can say data store is there. So whatever query you want to perform, you can fire here. That is going to proceed here, and from that procedure, you will going to get your data from the database. You can see here, from this database, you can fetch your data. So user will fire the query. The proxy adoption middleware can send this query to the business logic. Process management middleware handle it, and database management middle will pass this query to the data store, and it will reply to the user as per their request. First layer is the user interface or the presentation tier. This layer deals with the user-facing device handling and rendering. This tier includes a user system interface where user service resides. The second tier is the process management or the application tier, and the third tier is capable of accommodating hundreds of users. This middle process management tier controls the transaction and asynchronous queuing to ensure the reliable completion of the transaction. So this middle tier has to handle all the users, hundreds of queries of the users. The third tier is database management tier. What it will do, you can access the database through this. It is going to access database, become accessible. It can manage the database. Three-tier architecture is better suitable for the effective network client-server design. It provides increased performance, flexibility, maintainability, reusability, and scalability. So here, using three-tier, you can increase the performance. You can even increase the number of clients. You can even handle the distributed processing from the user, a complex query from the user. You can have a distributed processing. Example is our banking system. From different ATM machine, the totally banking system is distributed, database are distributed. Suppose my account is in Axis Bank, but I can access my money from UCO Bank, from Union Bank, from any of the bank. Why? Because my data is distributed, replicas are created, everywhere my data is there. And using this, we can say three-tier architecture, I can access my data very easily. There are hundreds of people all over the India same time using the ATM machine. Even though everyone will going to get their money from different branch or the same branch, they are able to access their money, and this is because of distributed data. So you can see here, when presentation tier come, there are we can see here Internet Explorer. The browser will come, Netscape Navigator, Opera, WAP browsers. So these are the browsers through which users can, we can say, interact, right? Um, Users can use HTML, JavaScript for such kind of scripting language for accessing the web pages. An application tier, the application is developed in various languages like PHP, like Python, or some other languages you can use, and business logic can be developed using these languages. And for database, we can have XML with us, we can have SQL with us. There are various database languages are with us. So using this, you can develop your, here you can say XML is there, SQL is there, JDBC is there, XML is there. So using this, all these languages, you can develop your data tier. So presentation tier, this is the user facing system in the first tier. This is the layer of agent application and system. This application run on the client device and offer all the user interface. This tier is responsible for presenting the information to the end user. Presentation tier include the web browser. As I told you, Mozilla, Internet Explorer, Firefox, everything will be included here. Now the next thing is mobile computing architecture is given in a, we can say, figure shown. It is there. Okay. There are simple and efficient. One example of a network architecture, we can say it consists of various, we can say, middlewares. user interface, access network, and data tier. There are some of the middleware included into the presentation tier. You can see here message oriented middleware is there, transaction processing middleware is there, communication middleware is there, database middleware is there, distributed object and component is there, transaction middleware is, transcoding middleware is there. So three tier architecture we are having in mobile computing. So application tier, we know that presentation tier where users can interact with the browsers. Application tier is the like engine of the automobile. Here we are processing the data. What we are doing here, we are using Java.NET for making some logic, business logic, for providing, making software. So what message oriented middleware do? Message oriented middleware is generally asynchronous, peer to peer, which works in subscribe method. One or many objects may subscribe to a particular event. When an event occurs, it will subscribe or publish an asynchronous loosely coupled object. The mobile message oriented middleware monitors the occurrence of events. Request and response scheme is more flexible with the message oriented middleware. Hence, the message oriented middleware is more appropriate for the event driven application. For example, Java message services, right? It provides the asynchronous message oriented services. Now, transaction processing middleware. What is transaction? If I, we can say, after giving PIN number to my ATM, if I withdraw money, that is my one transaction, right? So if I deposit some money into the bank, that is one transaction. So it is suitable for developing the transaction-based distributed application. The number of client requests are properly mapped into different application tasks through the application service routine. So this transaction processing middleware is help us to handle the transactions given done by all the clients. So in ideal transaction processing system, the device for an input and output can be different. The transaction process is independent of the database architecture. The transaction processing middleware helps to reduce the resources by multiplexing technique, which in turn may reduce the response time. Right? So nobody likes to wait. Suppose I have given in ATM, I want to withdraw 1000 rupees. So I want instant reply. I don't want to wait for 1 hour or 2 hour in getting 1000 rupees. So that waiting time can be reduced by this transaction processing middleware. Now, what database middleware can do? It is responsible for maintaining the entire data involved in communication. In database, user interface can interact with the data tier through the access network and the middle tier. User interface can interact with the data tier through the access network and the middle tier. User cannot interact directly with the database. They have to follow the process, right? I cannot directly take money from ATM, open or lock of ATM, and that particular box is having some money. I can take it and move. You cannot do this kind of thing. You have to follow the process. You have to insert the ATM card, you have to give the username and password, you have to give the command that from saving account or from the debit account, from which account you want to access the money. According to that, you have to give your amount of money. So you have to follow all such processes, and through this middleware, through this business logic, it will reach to the database, and from database it will going to withdraw the money, debit the money, and you will going to get your money. Communication middleware is used to connect the one application to other application through the communication middleware. In telecommunication field, there are numerous elements in the core and the user interface via the telnet. The communication between nodes are finally established. Distributed object and components, the common object request broker architecture termed as a CORBA, is on the best example of distributed object and components. You can see here nowadays using Corba and other languages, you can do the distribution of your database, distribution of your operating system. It is also an example of banking system. Transcoding middleware to attend the request or need the user client. The transcoding middleware is used to transform one format of data into the other format. Actually, the content adaptation is done by transcoding to meet the requirement of the each device. Application tier or so-called middleware has to play in mobile computing architecture. The reliability of entire system is enhanced by the performance middleware. So transcoding means you are doing encoding and decoding of your message for security purpose. So this is the responsibility of this transcoding middleware. Application tier, it is going to perform the business logic It can process your data, it can take input, take data, and it make the decision. This layer will do the transcoding of the data in appropriate rendering in the presentation tile. The mobile computing environment, in addition to do the business logic, there are quite a few additional management functionalities that need to be performed. This function related to the decisions, network management, security, data store access. Most of these functions are implemented using the middleware software. The last one is data tier is used to store the data needed by the application and act as a repository for both the temporary and permanent data. This can range from sophisticated relational database, legacy hierarchical database, to even simple text file. Database middleware allows the business logic to be independent and transparent of the database technology and the database vendor. Database middleware runs between the application program and the database. Example of such middleware is ODBC, JDBC, etc. This middleware, the application will be able to access data from any source. Database source can be text file, it can be a Excel spreadsheet, or a network relational model like our SQL, index database, hierarchical, XML database, object-oriented database. So these are the various database that is going to handle by the, we can say the third layer, database tier layer. Okay. Now what I'm asking you, can I go for the topic design consideration, because this topic itself is a big, it is again take more than 40 to 35 to 40 minutes. So what can I do? Can I go for design consideration, or should I stop here? Reply me. If you want to leave, then please write down your attendance with your branch code.
55 IT.
CSE 57, ma'am.
Type. You can type.
Yes, ma'am.